Siddhant Saraswati Thakura. Hmm? And that building where Sri Bhakti Siddhanta gave this order to Abai, we have managed to get that building. That was a leela all by itself, because if you go, that area is now becoming the posh area of Calcutta, and you'll see all the old buildings are coming down and big high rises are coming up, and the people were so determined not to sell it to us, they sold it to some developer who's going to knock that building down, and somehow or other, the one devotee there, he fell at the feet of that builder. The builder was so shocked, some sadhus grabbing onto my feet. So he says, all right, you take it. And they have remodeled it exactly according to the time. If you go there, exactly like it was in Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura's time, they've remodeled the place like most beautiful place. And then they've put so many beautiful dioramas and made a beautiful temple room and everything there. Next time you go to Calcutta, you must go there. It's a very wonderful place. Now it's called Uttadanga Junction Road, but the old name was Uttadingi. And so they kept that. It was Bhakti Vinod Asan. This is actually where Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati started the Gaudiya Math, from this place. And this was the place we know that Prabhupada met Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, and he gave him that immortal order to go to the West and preach in the English languages. And so we've managed to preserve and glorify that place. It's a very wonderful temple. You should go there. And if you go at prasad time, you'll get very authentic Bengali prasadam there. So anyway, a couple of 100 years back, Vaishnavism was, Gaudiya Vaishnava anyway, was completely, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, he delivered everyone, and he inspired the 6 Goswamis, and they wrote so many books, and the next generation was Narottam, Srinivas, and Shamananda, and they preached vigorously, but gradually, as is the nature of this material world, everything deteriorates. You may start something nice, but everything gradually, unless you're very, very careful, everything deteriorates. So people were misinterpreting the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, and people had very little, in Bhaktivinoda's time, people had very little respect. If you were Vaishnava, meant, just a beggar, somebody who's singing on the streets to fill his belly and doing all kinds of abominable things we won't mention in this holy place. So Bhaktivinoda appeared up on the scene, and even in his time, it was very difficult to find a copy of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Somehow somebody managed to impress upon him the real importance of Lord Chaitanya. And when he studied Chaitanya Charitamrita, he understood that people are misusing, and he tried to reform in so many ways the situation. And he also understood that the place that they were calling Mayapur was on the wrong side of the not Jamuna, the Ganga, and he discovered the real place of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance. Even Jagannath Das Babaji, who was carried around in a basket, he couldn't even walk. But as soon as he saw the place, he immediately leapt 10 feet in the air. Eto nimai janmabhumi, eto nimai janmabhumi. He leapt in the air, even though Biharidas used to carry him in a basket. As soon as he saw the place, he confirmed, this is the place. So Bhaktivinoda was seeing the hopelessness of the situation, and at some point, he was, despite all of his activities, he was writing so many books and holding so many meetings, trying to bring people to the real light of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. And finally, he got posted in Jagannath Puri as a district magistrate of Puri temple. And he was praying to the Lord, please send a ray of Vishnu. I need all the help I can get, just like Lord Advaita was thinking, I cannot do this alone, I need you. my dear Chaitanya, my dear Krishna, you have to come. Only you can straighten the situation out. So Bhaktivinoda was praying like that. And he had a rented house not far from the, right on the Grand Road and not far from the Lion Gate, where the Rathayatra starts from. And on this day, 150, I think it was 100, anyway, it's over 150 years ago, beautiful sun appeared to Bhaktivinoda and his wife, Bhagavati Devi. This was his, he had one previous son from his previous wife who died, and then he married. So this was the third son of Bhagavati, but fourth son of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He was named Bimala Prasad. And when he was born, his umbilical cord was wrapped around his neck, just like a Brahman thread. In fact, it left a permanent mark on his body. And everybody, Bhaktivinoda saw this, he was very surprised. He realized this must be a very special child. And they called an astrologer. The astrologer said, I have seen so many charts in my life, but I have never seen a chart like this. This person, he will save the whole world by his preaching. And I have never seen a chart like this. All the 32 marks of a great personality are found in this person. He predicted. So he was, as we see, he was born in February. So 5 months later, July means Rathayatra. And somehow or other, the Rathayatra cart came before Bhaktivinoda's house and stopped for 3 days. Usually Rathayatra, if it's done properly, that it can just takes 1 day. They go. But for 3 days it stopped in front of Bhaktivinoda's house because Lord wanted to associate with his pure loving devotee. So at that time, Bhaktivinoda told his wife, you take the child on the cart. So because she was the wife of the magistrate, nobody stopped her. She went on the cart and she placed the child at Jagannath's lotus feet, and the child reached for Lord Jagannath's lotus feet, and Lord Jagannath dropped one of his flower garlands right on circling the child. So Bhaktivinoda understood, this is not an ordinary child. This must be who I was praying for. And the same time was also his first grain ceremony. His first grain ceremony was done with Jagannath Prasad. And when they set him down, they had the books and the money and something else was there, I can't remember right now. He immediately grabbed the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Bhaktivinoda again got the idea. This is the special soul that I was praying for. And it was seen that little Bimala, he was very, very not interested in frivolous sports. He was learning, all that he was studying the scriptures and absorbing everything he possibly could about spiritual life. And he completed, in his education, he was head of all the other students. And even at 4 years old, he manifested the symptom of a great personality. Because Bhaktivinoda bought some mangoes to offer to the family deity. And Bimala was just a small boy, 4 years old. He went and immediately grabbed those mangoes and began to eat. And Bhaktivinoda saw this and he said, no, you have done a big offense. This was meant to be offered to the Lord. We should never take anything before it's offered to the Lord. And even though he was a child of 4 years old, he made vow, I am an offender. I will never eat mango again for the rest of my life. And even in his old age, hundreds of disciples would come and they'd always offer him mangoes. He said, no, I'm an offender, I cannot take. Ishavashamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatam jagat. Everything belongs to Krishna. We should only take what is our due. So he never, for the rest of his life, even though he's 4 years old. At 7 years old, he had memorized all the slokas of Bhagavad Gita. Now I'm 70, I still haven't done that. But 7 years old, he knew all the slokas and he could lecture on any sloka in Bhagavad Gita. Just imagine. And Bhakti Vinod, thinking that actually this English medium is simply meant as a slaughterhouse. And this modern education, Bhakti Vinod had a saying, that modern education makes one an ass. But still, he thought this fellow, he has to deal with this modern world, so better to give him this English education so that he can understand how to deal with these people. But Bhakti Vinod's real ruchi was studying the scriptures. And he was very proficient in his material knowledge. He always came out ahead in the class, but he always continued to study the scriptures. And he became, somewhere along the line, he became interested in astrology also. He began to study astrology and all these things. And Bhakti Vinod gave him some special mantras, and even one Shringa mantra. There's people have different opinions about it, but most of the opinions believe it's our favorite mantra. Mukham Biram Mahavishnum Dvalantam Sarvato Mukham Nishingam Bishanam Badram Mrityum Mrityum Namamiham Sri Nrsimha Jai Nrsimha Jai Jai Narasimha Praladesha Jaya Padma Mukha Padma Bringam. Most biographers say this was the mantra that Bhakti Vinod gave to his son. And we know that as he grew up, then Bhakti Vinod was encouraging him that you must accept a spiritual master. And at that time, there was one Gorkashore Das Babaji who was totally illiterate. He loved Bhakti Vinod. He would come to visit Bhakti Vinod many times, and he met little Bimala Prasad, and Bimala Prasad was very impressed with him. And later in life, Bimala Prasad, he became a great scholar. He studied all literatures and even studied Sanskrit. He became a very, very big scholar. And he was renowned for his scholarship. Even he was so proficient in astrology that there was one fellow, he translated 2 books, Siddhanta Sirumani and Surya Siddhanta. And from those translations, that's where he got the title. I believe he was 18 years old or something. He got the title Siddhanta Saraswati from his expertise in astrology and translating these 2 books, Siddhanta, Surya Siddhanta and Siddhanta Sirumani. And one fellow who was trying to mix Western astrology with the Vedic astrology, and Bhaktisiddhanta saw that the scriptures themselves give formulas that every once in a while you have to correct. Because just like we say, the year is 365 days, but it's like 365 and a quarter. So every 4 years we add a leap year. Same with our lunar calendar. It's also, we say it's 360 days, but every more than 2 years, it goes out of whack, so then we have to add in an extra month. So all the planets are like that. They're not exactly moving the way we think they are. So every once in a while you have to correct everything. But for hundreds of years nobody's corrected, and Bhaktisiddhanta dared to go against the tide and correct all the things and show how it was people were seeing that there's it's not coming out right. So many people were leaning toward Western philosophy. There was some fellow named Bopadev or something like that. Anyway, they had a big showdown, and they had a big conference. And Bhaktisiddhanta, with his vast amount of knowledge and learning, he defeated this guy so thoroughly that he passed stool and urine in his trousers and proved the superiority of Vedic philosophy, of Vedic astrology. But he wasn't interested. He could have become a huge astrologer, but he wasn't interested. He was more interested in spiritual knowledge. And Bhakti Vinod encouraged him that you should take initiation from Gorkashore. And he thought, because many people were after him, everybody had their eye all the Jata Gosais and owls and bowels and everybody, that, oh, if we get Bhaktisiddhanta as our disciple, that it'll be a big feather in our cap, But he saw through all of them, that they were just bogus fellows, and completely corrupted and doing so many illicit practices. So he wasn't encouraged by any of them. But he accepted his father, because he accepted that Gorkashore was a real sadhu. He was, impeccable, his character. Although so many cheaters tried to take advantage of him and declare themselves as his disciple, eventually they would be seen as frauds only. So Bhaktisiddhanta, he approached Gorkashore, and Gorkashore said, well, let me consult with Mahaprabhu. And Bhaktisiddhanta was shocked. Everybody else is after him. And this guy, he was very proud of his education and all his book knowledge and his morality. And Bhaktisiddhanta said, my Guru Maharaj, he completely smashed me. Everything that I thought was very good in me, he didn't care a fig for. So I thought there must be some type of goodness in him that is so much superior to what I take, this knowledge and morality that I think is so good. What wealth does he have? He realized he smashed my ego like anything. I understood that there's something that the divine love for the holy name, that is the only valuable thing in this world. So again, he approached Gorkashore, and he said, I'm waiting for Mahaprabhu's order. He hasn't given the order. So third time he approached, they were on a bridge over the Jalangi, and Gorkashore was coming across the bridge, and Bhaktisiddhanta came and again begged him to initiate him. And he said, I haven't got the order. And then Bhaktisiddhanta climbed up on the side of the bridge and said, what is that? Kandiya, Kandiya? Karuna na koribe? What is that? Prana na rakibo. I'm just going to jump in the Jalangi if you don't initiate me. Then Gorkashore, all right, come down. And he had a tiger skin cap, and he just had some strings that with knots in them for chanting, and he had said, go take bath in the Jalangi, and you come, and I'll initiate you. And he gave him that wonderful name, Sri Barsa Bhanavi Devi Daita, one of the very confidential servant of Srimati Radharani. And he gave him that cap and some puja paraphernalia and these little, not even japa beads, just gave him strings with little knots in them for chanting the holy name. And he got initiation. He said, then I understood the real value in life is devotional service to the Lord, nothing else. And at that time, he had no job, but the king of Tripura was very dear to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So Bhaktivinoda asked him if he could employ him in some way. So he employed him in his service. And he was very, very efficient in his service. And when that king died, then his son also employed him. And he had him take over the accounts department. And Bhaktisiddhanta managed to see so much lafra was going on there in the accounts department. People were cheating left and right, and he became very unpopular. Very soon he became very unpopular, rooting out all the corruption and robbing that was going on. And finally he decided, although he had a job in some way to maintain himself, but he didn't like this idea, so the situation, envy and greed and all this corruption. So finally he quit that job, but the king awarded him a pension, which eventually also after several years, then he also stopped that pension. He didn't want to take money from materialists like this. And so many amazing pastimes are there of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. While he was in Tripura, the king had a huge library, and Bhaktisiddhanta managed to study all different types of philosophy so that he could defeat everyone. And he just was like a sponge. He could just absorb knowledge. In fact, even he could quote verbatim. If you told him on page such and such, what does it say in this such and such shastra? and he will repeat verbatim what it said in that. Even after not reading that book for 50 years, he could repeat it. He had such a retention of knowledge, We're, 2 seconds and we can't remember what. It's like we're meeting so many devotees. What did you say your name was, bro? But Bhaktisiddhanta, even after 50 years, he could quote verbatim from the books that he studied. And Bhakti Vinod, of course, engaged him in book publication and taught him everything from typesetting to printing and everything to do with book setting. He trained Srila Bhaktisiddhanta in, because he wanted him to take over and continue churning out books of the Goswamis and churning out bhakti literatures so that people could understand the real philosophy of Krishna consciousness. And Bhakti Vinod wanted him to take over the management of the Yoga Pit. Because that time Yoga Pit, it was out in the middle of nowhere. It was just like a jungle. Bhakti Vinod, he had so much trouble. He would, even sometimes he would pay people to go there and do the puja, but they would leave because it was such a desolate place out in the middle of the jungle. Who wants to stay out in the middle of the jungle? And so and at that same time, Bhaktisiddhanta decided he was going to chant 1 billion names of Krishna. I don't know how many rounds that must be, but he decided. It took him 9 years. During those 9 years, he did so many other things. He managed the temple. At the same time, he was chanting his japa. And one time he was invited, of course, to there was one Goswami from Radharman temple named Madhusudan Goswami, who appreciated very much Bhakti Vinod and Bhaktisiddhanta both. And he set up, along with, what was his name, Visvambarananda Dev Goswami from Shamananda Sampradaya, disciple coming down from Shamananda Prabhu, because Bhakti Vinod himself, he was Kedarnath Datta. At that time, Datta meant Vaishya, Kayasta, which is a type of Vaishya. So the caste Goswami, Jata Gosai, they're very upset by Bhakti Vinod and Bhaktisiddhanta. Both, they're not born in Brahmin families, and they're initiating people and preaching, and the Jata Gosais were very upset, and the caste Goswamis were very upset by all this. So they organized, but Madhusudan Goswami and Visvambarananda Dev Goswami recognized the true value of what they were preaching. So he organized a big meeting, Brahman or Vaishnava. And Bhaktisiddhanta went there, and he began to quote verses, because Bhaktivinoda at that time was too ill to attend. And he cried out, "There's no one who can go and defend our position." And Bhaktisiddhanta said, "I will go." And the first day he began to, just like the Ganga itself, verses glorifying the Brahmins and Brahminical birth were flowing from his mouth like anything. Then he began quoting all the scriptures that no matter wherever, if somebody's Krishna conscious, a Vaishnava is a real Brahmin. He's greater than just ordinary Brahmin. And the Jata Gosais were furious, and they presented so many arguments. And finally, after 3 days, Bhaktisiddhanta gave the final judgment and established that anyone from any caste, if he takes up the chanting of the holy name and becomes a Vaishnava, he's greater than even an ordinary Brahmin. And all the Jata Gosais, they snuck out of the meeting, being totally frustrated, and the people charged forward, and Bhaktisiddhanta, he never used to let people touch his feet. But they saw that the crowd was crushing and crushing and crushing. So they didn't know what to do. So finally they just grabbed Bhaktisiddhanta, dumped him in a pail of water, poured it into a big pot, and dumped in a few more loads of water, and then began spraying it on all the crowd. And everybody was calmed down. And Bhaktivinoda established his Bhakti Bhavan to preach in Calcutta, preach to the intelligent class of men. One time, Gaurkishore complained to Bhaktisiddhanta, "Why is your father staying in this place of Kali. He was saying Calcutta is the place of Kali. And Bhaktisiddhanta countered, wherever my father is, that is Vaikuntha, that is Vrindavan. And Gorgashore, yes, you're right. He agreed. So he would help him in his preaching in Bhakti Bhavan, and they were printing books, and they established a printing press. And gradually Mayapur began to thrive a little bit. People began to take notice that this is the real place of Mahaprabhu's birth, and temple became more and more famous, and Bhaktisiddhanta had so much, despite trying to keep his vow for 1 billion names, he was also managing the yoga pit, and he established so many nice things there, and did so many nice things there. Even while he was doing his vrat, he went to this meeting, so many things he did. And somehow the lease expired on the place where they had they called it the Chaitanya Yantra, their printing press, Chaitanya Yantra. Yantra means machine. So this was the Chaitanya Yantra. And they had to move it to Mayapur. He bought another piece of land just down the road from the Yoga Pit that he called Vrajapatana. And there he established a Radhakund and a Shamakund and Giriraj. In fact, on that Giriraj, I was there one day and I saw this beautiful verse. And everybody knows this verse, but nobody knows where it's from. But it's a very beautiful verse about Giriraj. Namaste Girirajaya Sri Govardhana Namini Ashesha Klesha Nashaya Paramananda Daini. Namaste Girirajaya. I'm offering my obeisance to the king of all the mountains. Sri Govardhana Namini, whose name is Govardhan. Ashesha Klesha Nashaya. And Klesh means troubles. And Ashesh means without limit. He destroys troubles without any limit. Ashesha Klesha Nashaya. We know this word from Bhagavad Gita, right? Vinashaya Chaduskritam. Yeah? So it destroys unlimited amounts of troubles. And what does it replace it with? Paramananda Daine. And replaces it with Paramanand. Not just Anand, but Paramanand. So nobody knows where this verse came from. Even, what's his name? Madhavananda, who writes so many books, he also couldn't figure out where this is from. But we have both seen it on the hill at the Govardhan Hill in Chaitanya Mat. He establishes a Chaitanya Mat there, and then gradually, now we see Mayapur. It's completely a live place. That time it was just a jungle. The other famous thing was he was always helping Gorkashore in so many ways and sending him fruits. They were growing things on their properties there, so he'd send fresh fruits and vegetables to Gorkashore. And finally, his father established a place in Puri. Well, first he got arranged for Bhaktisiddhanta to stay at Giridhari Mat. How long do we have? Okay. All right. So right now there's going to be some disturbance, so we won't talk, we'll sing. And afterwards we'll talk some more, because there's just, Bhaktisiddhanta is such an incredible personality. We have no way we could go on for days and days and days. Just like you see, most of this information I gotten from Bhakti Vikas Maharaj's book, Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhav. He's got, I went to 3 volumes or something, just 3 volumes. He just went around from everybody and extracted all the nectar. And one thing, before they start all the disturbance, we always hear about he was so strict and so firm, and we feel very frightened, But you see some of the nice pictures of him. He looks so sweet. He has a sweet personality. Actually, he used to come down. Bhakti Vikas Maharaj found these articles where he would come at night and make sure that the mosquito nets of the brahmacharis were tied properly, because if they get bit by a mosquito and get mistake, then the preaching will be hindered. So he would come and he would fix the mosquito nets for the brahmacharis. And he's always very, very kind and concerned for the brahmacharis. Although he was very strict also, but we hear some nice another view of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta from Bhakti Vikas Maharaj's research. So now they're going to bring some offerings and make a lot of noise. So Prabhuji's asked me to sing something. So we'll sing a nice song, glorifying the Vaishnava Gosai. If you have your... You know, if you can look up E Bara Karuna Koro. E Bara Karuna Koro Vaishnava Gosai. Patita Pavana Toma Bina Kehona. Patita Pavana Toma Bina Kehon. Kaharane Kate Gele Papa Dure Jai. Emana Dayala Prabhu Keva Kotapa. Gangara Parasha Hele Paschate Pavan. Darshane Pavitra Koro Eto Marago. Haristane aparade tare harina. Tomastane aparade nahi paritra. Tomara hridoye sada Govinda Vishram. Govinda kahena mora Vaishnava para. Pratijanme kore asha charane raduli. Narotame koro दया अपनार बोली এবার করুণা করো বৈষ্ণব গোসাই पतित पावन तोमा बिना के होना पतित पावन तोमा बिना के होना पतित पावन तोमा बिना के होना Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Vaishnava Gosai, Jaya Vaishnava Gosai, Jaya Vaishnava Gosai, Jaya Vaishnava Gosai. Jaya Vaishnava Gosai, Jaya Vaishnava Gosai, Jaya Vaishnava Gosai, Jaya Vaishnava Gosai. Jaya Bhakti Siddhant Sari Prabhupada, Jaya Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. Bhakti Siddhanta Jaya Prabhu. Jaya Bhakti Siddhanta Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Bhakti Siddhanta Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Jaya Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Srila Bhakti Siddhant Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So I was just thinking that we told about this wonderful we told about that place, Bhakti Vinod Asan, but we didn't tell the pastime. That's very wonderful pastime that Prabhupada recounts. That Prabhupada also became a little disappointed with all the so-called sadhus, and so he wasn't very impressed by anyone. But his friends came and said at Uttadingi Junction Road, there's this great sadhu. Oh, I've seen all these bogus sadhus. No, you have to come. You have to see this one's different. I've seen them all, Anyway, anyhow, his friend forced him to go. And he got there, and he bowed down, and soon as he sat up, Bhakti Siddhanta said, you're intelligent boy, you know English language, you preach the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the English-speaking world. At that time, Prabhupada said, I was a follower of Gandhi. So I said, we're a ruled state. Who will listen to us? And Bhakti Siddhanta said, the message of Godhead is so important. It can't wait for political changes and this and that. It's the most important thing. And Prabhupada said, among my friends, I was never defeated in argument, but he defeated me. And I thought, I've met a very nice sadhu. And Lord Chaitanya, afterwards, when his friends asked him, what do you think? He said, I think Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement is in very, very good hands. So this wonderful pastime happened. That building is preserved by us. All the Gaudiya Vaishnavas are very, very happy to see this place restored like it is. So many wonderful stories are there about Srila Bhakti Siddhanta. And Prabhupada told one story. He said sometimes when I would meet my spiritual master, he would take me aside and he'd tell me stories that he didn't tell to other people. And he said one time, all the Jata Gosais, because he was preaching very heavily, so the caste Goswamis, they became very upset, and the Smarta Brahmins became very upset. So they went to the superintendent of police, and they offered him 25,000 rupees. Now 25,000 rupees those days, Prabhupada said with 5 rupees you could buy the week's supply of boga, So if 25,000 rupees is a lot of money. They said, we're going to do something against this Saraswati, you don't put your nose. He said, so the inspector said, of course we do these things, but not for a sadhu. I refuse them. But this is the situation, you take care. And even one time he did Navadip Mandal, he started Navadip Mandal Prikrama. As Bhakti Vinod wanted this Navadip Mandal Prikrama to be reinstated. And the caste Goswamis, they hired some gundas and so many things, and they attacked the devotees, and situation was very, very delicate. And that devotee who later became Bhakti Pragan Keshav Maharaj, who we know as Srila Prabhupada's sannyas guru, he was very thin and he looked very much like Bhakti Siddhanta, but he was wearing white cloth. So he wore Bhaktisiddhanta's saffron cloth, and he gave Bhaktisiddhanta his white cloth, and he snuck out of the whole situation, and Bhakti Siddhanta went to, snuck out of the whole thing, and Burgan Keshav Maharaj, he made it out also. He managed to slip out of the whole thing. So many wonderful pastimes are there. There's one pastime that I read in Bhakti Vikas Maharaj's book. The one time, I guess, where were they? They were in Midnapur, I think. And Bhaktisiddhanta asked one disciple, I can't remember who it was, but he told him, you come and you read Srimad Bhagavatam out loud. And Bhaktisiddhanta was writing. So he's reading, and all of a sudden he saw this hand. It was dark outside, and this hand appeared in the window like this, And he saw that hand, and he fainted. And Bhaktisiddhanta woke him up and said, chant, read Srimad Bhagavatam. He started reading again, and the second time this hand came like this, And he saw that, he fainted. Bhaktisiddhanta woke him up a third time, the hand disappeared. So the very famous pastime, of course, that we know eventually in, I can't remember which year, but Bhakti Vinod finally ended his earthly pastime. He had a place in, we didn't tell that part. Bhaktisiddhanta was staying at Giridhari Mutt because there's Sapta Asan Road. The Sapta Rishis had their places there. So one of them was Giridhari Mutt, was the place of Jagadananda. And he was doing his bhajan there, and he met some fellow, what was the name? Radharaman Charan. They just called him Charandas Baba. And they had very wonderful time together discussing, Mahaprabhu's Leela and Mahaprabhu's philosophy. But then Radharaman Charan became very famous, and he invented his own mantra, which we won't repeat here, but Dhananjay, who was the president of Krishna Balaram Temple at the time, because right behind us they have one of their ashrams, and they were always blasting their mantra. So Prabhupada told Dhananjay Prabhu, that before our deities you chant, Nitai Gaur Radhesham Jai Krishna Balaram. So sometimes we were chanting like that, Nitai Gaur Radhesham Jai Krishna Balaram. Because we're just chanting the names of our deities, not a bogus mantra, just chanting the names of the deities. So he invented this bogus mantra, and finally, their friendship broke, and Bhaktisiddhanta was preaching against him. He printed so many things, even he was catching people on the street, but some of the foolish people, they were taking the side of Charandas Babaji, and things, they were threatening. His father was threatening Bhaktisiddhanta, so Bhaktivinoda said, better you go back to Mayapur and straighten out the management there. So he went back to Mayapur. But sometimes he came and stayed there. And Bhaktivinoda sometimes stayed at Bhakti Bhavan. I think it was at Bhakti Bhavan he finally entered the eternal pastimes of Radha and Krishna. So unfortunately, Bhaktisiddhanta was in Mayapur at the time, and he couldn't get to Calcutta because rainy season and the trains were way behind schedule because the tracks were flooded and this and that. And by the time he got there, some other relatives had already cremated, although he was, Bhaktivinoda had a divine body. There's no question of cremating, but they'd already cremated him. But he took the ashes and brought them to Swananda Sukhada Kunj, his place in Godrum Dweep, and established the Puspa Samadhi of Bhakti Vinod there. And then later that year, Gorkishore Das Babaji also entered in the eternal pastimes of Radha and Krishna. So Bhaktisiddhanta, he was very depressed for this time in his life. It was very difficult. Who is there to chastise me now? And he lamented for quite some time before he finally again got fired up. He got a dream that they said, you just preached the true message of bhakti and we're all with you. The Panchatattva appeared in that dream, Gorkishore, his spiritual master. Everybody appeared in that dream. Said, don't worry about a thing, just preach pure bhakti. Mm-hmm. So then he started up his preaching again. But anyway, when Gorkashore disappeared, then there was a big fight because all the Babajis came and everybody wanted to establish a samadhi, because anybody who had Bhakti, Gorkashore Das Babaji Samadhi, they could make a lot of money. And so they were all fighting about it, and somebody sent word to Bhakti Siddhant. He crossed over, because Babaji Maharaj was staying in Navadvip at that time, in a latrine, as a matter of fact, just to try to avoid coming in contact with people. He was living in a latrine. So Bhaktisiddhanta crossed over the river from Mayapur and came there. And by this time the police, suspecting some unrest, the police had come, and Bhaktisiddhanta said, I'm the only disciple of his, so it's my right to establish his samadhi. And the Babaji said, but you're not a Babaji. How can you give a samadhi to a Babaji? You can't, you have no right. Bhaktisiddhanta said, well, I have the right because I'm his disciple, and I'm a celibate brahmachari from lifelong brahmachari. Not like some people here who pretend to be renunciates and have secret engagements with women at night. I'm not like them. In fact, if somebody is here who hasn't had illicit sex in the last half year, last 6 months, in the last 1 month, in the last 1 week, in the last 3 days, then he can touch my spiritual master. Otherwise, he'll be ruined. And the police officer on duty said, how are we going to produce the evidence for this? He said, I will take their word. And one by one, the crowd was astonished as all the Babajis turned their back and walked away. Then, many people were present when Gorkashore had told Bhaktisiddhanta that when I leave my body, I want you to drag me through the streets of Navadvip so people can see the face of somebody who was addicted to sense gratification his whole life and had no love for Mahaprabhu or the holy name. So people were pressing him to do that. He said, you don't understand anything. He said that to smash your pride. You're so proud that you think you can drag my spiritual master through the streets. He was just showing his humility to smash your pride. Anyway, the situation was tense, so he wasn't able to take Gorkashore to Mayapur. So he established his samadhi there. There was 2 businessmen who owned that property, but they supposedly donated it to Bhaktisiddhanta to establish a samadhi there. And worship was going on very nicely. Then suddenly they began to say that, no, this is our ancestral property. We never really gave it, this and that. And there was a big fight was going on. And suddenly, due to their great offense against Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, all their wealth was lost. They were put in jail. So many calamities happened to them. And eventually they got that land back. But that land was on the floodplains of the Ganga. So one year the Ganga began to overflow and flow. It was moving toward that land. So Bhaktisiddhanta came there, took dug up the samadhi and transferred it to Chaitanya Mat. So there you can see the samadhi of Srila Gorkashore Das Babaji Maharaj is there, and Chaitanya Mat in Mayapur. He's able to salvage the samadhi there. So, and of course we know our Prabhupada was always thinking that I'm stuck in householder life. How can I fulfill the desire of my spiritual master? But he always thinking, I must do something. Even he began writing his back to Godhead even in his householder life. He would try to preach in the English language, but he's always thinking, I can't do anything. And finally he established it. Well, first of all, Bose Laboratories, that fellow who started it, he was very impressed by Prabhupada, so he made him the manager, even though he was a young fellow. But then there's so much politics, everything is just politics. So he became frustrated with that, so he decided to open his own, and he opened up a place in Allahabad. I've seen the place where his Day's Pharmacy used to be there. Now I forget what's there now, but I've seen that place. I think it's Johnstongunge or something like that. Johnstongunge or something like that. And anyway, the Gaudiya Math people showed up there to start a temple, and somebody said, this Abai Babu, he's very pious, Vaishnava. You go to him, he'll certainly help. And when Prabhupada said, oh, these people have come. These people of Bhakti Siddhanta have come. He was very happy to help them secure some land, and finally they found some place not far from where the Kumbh Mela was, and even Bhakti Siddhanta came to attend the Kumbh Mela, and of course we know then Prabhupada was initiated there. Previously, Prabhupada was traveling in Agra when he heard that Bhakti Siddhanta was doing Braj Mandal Prikrama. So he came there to Koshi. There's one village is there named Kosi, and Bhakti Siddhanta was there, and Prabhupada, since Agra is not very far from Braj, he came there and met his spiritual master again, and very happy. And they announced that they're going to see the deity of Sheshai, and Bhakti Siddhanta is also to give darshan in the evening. So you can either go to see Sheshai or you can stay for the darshan. And Prabhupada said, deities I can see anytime, but I don't always get the opportunity to hear from my spiritual master. So he stayed there, and Bhakti Siddhanta noted that this boy likes to hear. So when he got initiated in Allahabad by Srila Bhakti Siddhant Saraswati Thakur, then he said, yes, I have noted he likes to hear. So he remembered that incident in Kosi. So he likes to hear. And then again, Prabhupada was always feeling that the Brahmins, he helped them out in Bombay, everywhere he was helping. Bhakti Siddhanta, suddenly he, began to get followers, and the Gaudiya Math became very big, and he was having, so many centers were opening, and some fellow was there. I can't remember the exact story. He also wasn't very impressed by sadhus, but somehow or other he became impressed by Bhakti Siddhanta. And Bhakti Siddhanta, he would always offer him money. He said, I don't want anything. I just want your welfare. And he would preach to him and preach to him. And finally he decided that I have a big plot of land in Bagh Bazaar. He said, you talk to, I can't remember this. Yeah, I can't remember either. But one of his disciples, you talk to him. I don't deal with these things. Kunja Babu, yeah. So he was so impressed, he donated this land and helped build the temple for Bagh Bazaar Gaudiya Math. And now they've made an incredible Chaitanya museum there, all state-of-the-art, all kinds. You can even, they have a picture of the Panchatattva, and somehow by mirrors, you can get yourself in the picture with the Panchatattva. And so many wonderful things in that. They've made a wonderful place there. And that was the first Gaudiya Math that Srila Bhakti Siddhanta established. Though he started it in Bhakti Vinod Asan, this was actually first Gaudiya Math, this Bagh Bazaar. And another time, Prabhupada came to Braj when he heard the spiritual master was on Prikrama, and he met him at Radhakund. And, or maybe it was in Braj, I guess it was in Braj. He was just staying in Radhakund because Bhakti Vinod had established a house there. Braja Swananda Sukhadakunj. His place in Godunri was Swananda Sukhadakunj, and Bhakti Vinod's house in Radhakund was Braja Swananda Sukhadakunj. If you know where to go, it's just a little bit off the Prikrama path, not far, but you can see that wonderful place. And they were walking one day on the Sangam between Radhakund and Shamakund, most sacred place. And Bhakti Siddhanta said, Ag Jalbe, there will be fire. He said, now everybody's fighting for what room they're going to take in the mutt. Nobody's thinking about the service of the Lord, just thinking what room, I'm superior to you, this should be my room. No, I'm more senior to you. Everybody was fighting. He said, would have been better to take all the marble and sell it and print books. and he looked at Prabhupada walking on the Sangam between Radhakund and Chamakund. This is the most sacred place for ISKCON devotees. And he looked at him, he said, if you ever get money, print books. So book distribution was born from Radhakund. Mm-hmm. Because this is the actual Radha Bhav. Everybody's there in Radhakund to try and get Radha Bhav. But the Radharani's, our philosophy is that we want to make arrangements for Radha to meet with Krishna. Just like sometimes the common people, they always chant Radhe Radhe Shameladi. That's sense gratification. We don't want to have Radharani make arrangements for us to meet Krishna. We want to make arrangements for Krishna and Radharani to meet. That is our Siddhant. So this is sense gratification, this type of idea. So, and Radharani, she's always trying to bring other people to meet Krishna. So this is what we're doing. We're following, this is Radha Bhav, to go on book distribution and give books and bring people to Krishna's lotus feet for his pleasure. This is the real Radha Bhav. So book distribution was born from Radhakund. Oh, yes. One time, I'm not sure which Gaudiya Math this was, some gentleman who was the vice chancellor of BHU, Benares Hindu University, very prestigious institution. So it was considered, you would think that some important person had come, immediately see him. He said, no, I'm busy. You go sit with the boys, polishing the brass, and I'll be with you in a minute. Then he came a second time, and he said, no, I'm still busy. You sit there. The boys are polishing the brass. So he went there, and he had nothing to do. He's a big man, but so he said, give me one of the brass utensils. He began to polish the brass. Third time he came, so what is your question? He said, no, I have no question. All my questions have been answered. Because real service is the real thing that is our Siddhanta. We want to serve Krishna. By serving Krishna, everything is revealed. And by serving... Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, of course, that was the very beginning. Is it time for Arti? Oh, Pushpanjali. Okay, anyway, there's so many wonderful pastimes we could tell about Bhakti Siddhant. Of course, this is Appearance Day, so we won't talk about it. It's just Appearance Day. Huh? Yeah, that I was just going to tell. That Subhash Chandra Bose came, who started this NIA, Indian National Army, and he was trying to get the British out. And Subhash Chandra came to Bhakti Siddhanta that you have so many young men, you give them to me. He said, they're all skinny guys, they're useless. And and finally he again came, and Bhakti Siddhanta said, you believe in reincarnation? He said, of course, every Hindu believes in reincarnation. He said, now you're British and you're always thinking about the British. Maybe next lifetime you'll take a body as a British. And then will you want to get the British out of India? And he said, nobody ever talked to him like that. And when they had the inauguration of the Bagh Bazar Gaudiya Math, Subhash Chandra Bose came and sat there the whole day. He was so impressed. Nobody else would say such a thing to this guy. Yeah, I'm trying. Yeah, you're simply interested in the Indians, but I'm interested in the whole world. So he was very impressed by Bhakti. So he came and sat the whole day for the inauguration. Okay. Hare Krishna. Srila Bhakti Siddhant Saraswati Thakura Prabhupada ki.